I am a 36-year-old man who works as an office executive for a law firm. Although not very well paid, the position is respectable. However, I am incredibly appreciative of my career and the life I was able to create for myself. It would be difficult for you to believe that I could ever get over my sad life and earn a living if you understood my past. I mean, I'm from a really famous family. Among the first few medication manufacturers in the city was my great-grandfather. We had a large family because of his numerous children and grandchildren. And now that the manufacturing company has been split up into other smaller businesses, my father, my uncles, and a few other family second and third cousins manage them. My father inherited a pharmacy that supplies both independent and chain pharmacies with prescription pharmaceuticals. We are two brothers that belong to my generation. My older brother is a doctor, and he will be the topic of my story's next section. And I am nobody, this younger one. Yes, I don't have a family portfolio and I don't have the medical degree that my family desired. As a matter of fact, I do not possess any reputational standing worthy of my family's heritage. I'm merely a graduate who made it all the way to the college graduation ceremony. I'm not too proud to admit that I finished my 3-year college degree in 5 years. Was I stupid? Maybe. I had no self-worth and was a loser. I don't mean to minimize my parents' influence on my life, but they did play a significant role in my life's near collapse. My older brother, as I mentioned earlier, has always been a lucky boy. While still in school, he assisted Dad at the warehouse, excelled academically, and received medals and prizes from both sports and academics. He was and still is the height of wisdom and morality. Since he is 7 years older than I am, he had already established a standard so high that I never even tried to reach it. I had given up trying before. I never even tried since I knew I could never measure up to him. I never felt resentful of him or jealous of him in that sense. As brothers, we had, as far as I can recall, a fairly typical and good relationship. He was largely preoccupied with his own affairs, including his friends, job, and studies. As you might guess, having a brother who was a golden child meant that I was constantly the target of comparisons and jokes from my family, relatives, and even the school's teachers. When you attend the same school as your topper sibling, that is what occurs. My brother was a top student, while I was a mediocre student. I was also not very good in sports. Although I wasn't obese, I wasn't in good enough shape to be selected for the school's squad. I was made fun of for having no skill at all. I needed a coping strategy in that situation, and I found one in the company of wicked boys. During my time in high school, I engaged in a variety of mischievous activities. Having access to over-the-counter medications made me popular among the bad lads. I was even caught twice when I used to supply items from my father's warehouse. My parents grounded me and gave me harsh punishment. Stealing gave my cap an additional feather. I was formally identified as the family's bad apple. My life would have been different if they had taken the time to understand my psyche, rather than grounding me. My parents had me enroll in a medical course after high school, but I resisted. I was aware of my poor study skills. To my parents' annoyance, I decided to pursue a degree in accountancy. They hated me for picking such a crappy job. My extended family and relatives consist of 11 doctors in all, along with a number of nurses and other medical professionals. Here, anything less than a nursing degree is regarded as trivial. I had to take out an education loan because my father would not pay for my schooling. Dad promised to give me pocket money only till I started college, when I was packing to leave for college. I'll be responsible for covering my student debt on my own after that. Cool, I said. I wasn't too industrious to be able to use my insult as an incentive to put in extra effort and establish my worth. Rather, I had my lowest point in college. I was aware that I would not receive any more from my parents. They may have given some peanuts from their fortune if there was a miracle, but I'm very sure my golden brother would get the meatballs. I therefore made the decision to really enjoy my college experience. Moved into a worse group of guys, started abusing drugs, and needed 5 years to finish a 3-year degree in college. I didn't work a part-time job to pay for my schooling, Instead, I spent a lot of money on illegal activities. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life after graduation. I lived in my fantasy world for an additional 6 months until my college dorm expulsion. I attempted to obtain an office job, but due to my lackluster performance and carefree demeanor, I was never able to pass any interviews. One of my friends and I shared a small, run-down apartment until he asked me to move out. Spent a few months hopping on the couch of another acquaintance. When the bank began to pursue me for the repayment of the education loan, things became worse. I had no money for hamburgers, so how was I going to pay my debt? I was on my own. Dad had ceased sending me money a long time ago. I did take odd jobs here and there, but the pay was so meager that it was hardly enough to sustain my body and soul. I pleaded and borrowed time from the bank officials, and eventually they sent 2 burly collectors to my door, grabbing me by the collar and threatening to withhold the mortgage payment for 15 days. I was so terrified that I was unable to flee. There was nowhere for me to flee. I pleaded with my mother over the phone, but she hung up, telling me that I deserved this. Then I shouted out to my brother, who was my sole chance in that circumstance. By then, he was a well-established physician with his own practice. He stated that he needed more time to consider it. I explained to him my situation and assured him I would repay the money right away. Even though I knew I was a wasted guy who shouldn't be trusted with money, it would have still been preferable if he hadn't agreed to assist me. However, his actions were nothing what I had imagined. He gave me a call after a week. He asked for my account details and said he could arrange the money. I provided him my bank account information, including my PIN and password, without hesitation. Yes, gullible or perhaps exposed me. I got a text message the next day saying that money, roughly 4 times my whole student loan, had been paid to my account. It astonished me. I gave him a call and inquired as to why he would send far more than I actually required. He claimed that all of the money from the sale of his assets ended up in my bank account. He promised to deposit the money I needed and move the rest to his account. He needed complete access to my account to do that. I gladly obliged, providing him with all the information he required. As he had promised, he took all the money and left me with only what I needed to settle my debt. I settled the bill. It was as though a mountain had been removed from my shoulders. My happiness was short-lived, as my dad called me an hour later, demanding that I take the first bus home and screaming and beating me like a crazy person. He was charging me with embezzlement from the family business. I had no idea what he was discussing. Until I got home and saw the mayhem for myself, it never even occurred to me that my brother might have been involved in this theft, and that I was just the scapegoat. My father greeted me with a hard slap and then what I can only refer to as mental assault. They said that I took money out of the business fund and used it to settle the debt. I was shocked. They were aware of my difficulties in repaying the amount. When Dad went to the bank to report suspicious activity in his company account, he was informed that the money had been transferred to my account. My brother made up a narrative to say that I had taken the money when Dad told him about it. In order to paint me as a crook, he also pulled up my bank statement. His description of the intricacies was so detailed that I ran out of words. I saw the contempt in the eyes of my entire extended family, who were all in attendance. He acted as if I had mentioned some ghost as I stuttered and said, "Bro, it was you who transferred the money into my account." He denied being involved in any way. I made a phone call to the bank to find out whose account the money from my account was transferred to. The official gave no information and said it was some kind of untraceable private account. On the other hand, my father's business account amply demonstrated that the funds had been moved to my account. Thus, without leaving any trace, my brother moved money from my father's company account to mine using my details, and then he moved the money to his own account. Whoa, it seemed unbelievable to me that he would go to such lengths for his own gain. He was an imposter, but I nevertheless brought him to the corner and begged him to come clean. He refuted every claim. My parents helped him out. Their golden child was him. Although there was no reason for them to help me, some family members thought that I couldn't take money. They requested that I return the money, but I was unable to find the source. When my brother intervened, Dad threatened to call the police and sue me, claiming it would damage the family's reputation. He was so clever, I thought. He was only being astute, but it was also his guilt. The reality that my brother was the one behind everything could have been discovered if law enforcement and the courts had become involved. He urged me to vanish from their lives, and offered this to me as a favor for protecting him from the police. I felt like a criminal in everyone's eyes, even though I was innocent. I fled because I couldn't face anyone who was there. I was sobbing as I ran through the streets. I can still clearly recall that night as I ran aimlessly, my face and eyes so full of tears that I was having trouble seeing anything. In the end, I collapsed onto the pavement, sobbing like a little child. That day, I walked for over an hour before boarding a bus. I made a commitment to take control of my life and never go back to my family. I needed 8 years to establish a respectable life for myself. Even though it wasn't easy, my rage and passion kept me going. I intended to destroy my family, expose my brother, and exact revenge for the humiliation I had suffered. I was aware of my helplessness in their presence, though. I had nothing and my brother and family had everything they needed to ruin me. I didn't even have enough money for counseling. A few days ago, something happened that brought back all the terrifying recollections of the past, even though I had virtually forgotten much of this history. Asked my sister-in-law to pay me a visit. Yes, the wife of my brother. She abruptly showed up at my place of employment. I was unable to identify her. All of my family members and relatives were blocked on social media. Somehow, she managed to find me using my location. She came to ask for assistance. She asked for my assistance in getting my brother out of jail. He was under investigation for allegedly selling illegal substances. I inquired whether she was aware of our past. Yes, she nodded. In reality, she acknowledged that her brother had started a nefarious drug manufacturing venture with the money. Someone filed a report about it. A few months ago, brother closed the firm after receiving a tip from his accomplice. Still, authorities are looking into it, and his arrest won't be far off. I questioned her about why, in the face of so many capable family members, she felt the need to run to me. She stated the police had closed all of my father's warehouses and that they were being looked into. The police believe that Dad and his brother are involved in this company together. Additionally, their bank account is frozen. Relatives and extended family have rolled up their sleeves to protect themselves. They obviously don't want to suffer and become entangled in a quagmire. Why me, though? As I can ask a lawyer to represent my brother because I work at a law business. Really? Do they believe so? When he insulted me, wrongly accused me, and got me expelled, I'll support them. For the benefit of her kids, she pleaded for my assistance. I firmly declared that my family had passed away and kindly requested her to depart. After she was gone, my mind was racing. My mother called me the following day. She begged me to assist them, saying that we should support one another as a family. I erupted with laughter upon hearing her sermons. After all these years, when they treated me like an outsider and I was never wanted, I asked her where all the family bonding bullshit was. It's time to spend quality time together as a family, she remarked, so let the past go. What a hypocrite. I requested her not to phone me again and hung up. But an hour later, she called me again. Yes, exactly. She also left a voicemail that said, "Don't be a baby and act like an adult for once. I am a newborn. I have no intention of helping them at all. However, I also don't feel good about my suffering. I've been plotting my revenge for my humiliation for several months. I'm not thrilled about it now that karma is biting them. Is this not a quintessential example of karma's best work? It seems that the golden child was more than just a fool's gold. But really, that is a whole other level of manipulation to use your own brother as a scapegoat. They don't hold back when it comes to family turmoil, I suppose? And now, as if you were their only hope, they are crawling back to you to plead for assistance. What irony, huh? First update. I was astounded by the outreach and reaction to my post. Your kindness is greatly appreciated, thank you. You guys were right when you said that my parents should have a taste of the bitterness they had been holding in reserve, and that he deserved everything that he had. Call me the devil, but I made the decision to take advantage of this to get revenge for my humiliation. I promised to return home and talk about this when my mother phoned me again for assistance. When I returned home, they were all incredibly devoted to me. Brother had moved in with his wife and kids at his parents' house because his own property had been seized pending the conclusion of the investigation. I told them, "I'm not here for any BS." They all begged for assistance. My brother tried to hug me while crying. I gave him the finger and blocked him. Brother apologized for what he had done, his eyes welling with tears as I continued. Years ago, when I was pleading for help, no one came to my rescue. I was being labeled as a thief and chased out of the house. Mom yelled at me for calling for a show, and I responded, "Your crocodile tears are not helping here." I was tried in front of the whole family and relatives, so this sorry and confession should also happen in front of everyone. They called up everyone and begged them to attend, and I remarked at the time, "Not my problem if they want my help. They need to do this helplessly." The majority of the family members had abandoned them and not replied. A few of them declined to go in order to stay out of legal hot water. My brother had to come clean in front of them all, and Mum had to tell them it was about me. A handful of the aunts and uncles made an appearance. While the gossip mongers were in with a popcorn tub for some hot spice, some volunteered to come for legitimate reasons. They were sufficient to inform other people. My brother came clean and told everyone that he was the one who started his illegal side business by stealing money from the family business, using me as the fall guy. His aunt questioned him about why he would harm his own brother. He claimed that his father would not have approved of his business idea and that because of my vulnerability, he came up with a scheme to take advantage of me in order to achieve his goals. Before turning 30, he had already established his own manufacturing facility, acquired a private clinic, and purchased a home. He was receiving accolades for his diligence, but it was his betrayal that brought him everything. My uncle, who had a soft place for me from my early years, remarked, "I knew he could not be a thief." He expressed regret for not being able to assist me at the time, but pride in the fact that I was able to rise above my lowest point and resist giving into it. The problem is that everyone aspires to surf the rising wave. I said I would ask someone at my business to represent the case, but it wouldn't be free. Dad was like, "We did what you demanded, now you ought to help us get out of this." Dad became enraged and remarked that they could have retained any other attorney if they had the funds. "Why do they need my help?" I asked. "Good luck then. I mean, what do they expect? That I'd pay for his attorney to save him prison time when he framed me falsely and made my life a living hell?" Dad became irate and said, "Linda, my mom, don't worry, I'll figure something out myself. We wasted so much time seeking help from this piece of crap, me. How could we expect help from him when he has always been a useless bud?" I responded, "At least I'm not a fraudster. They should get off his back and prepare to go down with him," I told them. Not long afterwards, I departed. My mission was done. I had gotten my retribution. I'm not sure how I could have helped my parents escape this mess, but I became enraged when I realized that they were still providing for my brother. For the same theft, they humiliated me and shunned me. Do you see how they have a double standard? Go ahead and live with it. I appreciate how, when they need something from you, your parents suddenly become really kind and caring. Hypocrisy at its best, that's what. I'm relieved that you didn't let them off too lightly. Oh no, you ensured that they accepted responsibility for their error in front of the entire dysfunctional family. That's what I refer to as a power move, now. At least you might feel proud of yourself for responding truthfully to your dad when he called you a worthless piece of you-know-what. You refused to back down, forced them to accept the facts, and then you left like the boss you are. And now that's their responsibility if they want to continue using the double standard. Second update. Many of my cousins, uncles, and aunts called me after the altercation with my family and relatives and expressed their regret for not defending me. I answered, "It doesn't matter now because no one helped me when I really needed it." They informed me that my brother had been taken into custody last month on suspicion of producing and distributing pharmaceuticals without FDA approval. Although he was given an 8-year prison sentence, his lawyer is attempting to have that amount lowered. My dad's involvement in my brother's illicit enterprise has been ruled out, but he hasn't been arrested yet. For them, life is not simple. First of all, for over 5 or 6 months, his warehouse was under siege, bringing an end to operations. In addition, the health departments have been keeping a tight eye on him through surprise searches and alertness, which has caused tension in his mind and disruptions at work. For business owners, getting involved in legal issues is never a good thing. Nobody wishes to be connected to a company like that. He lost his usual clients and procurers. According to some. In my family, my parents feel as though they have aged by 10 years in the past 6 months, and that they now regret placing such naive faith in their golden child. However, they still don't discuss me or express remorse for what they did to me. I claimed it was alright since I no longer needed them. My dad's closest uncle informed me that my parents are currently considering selling everything and relocating to a remote area of town or even the country, where no one recognizes them. The continual criticism and eye-rolling from neighbors and family members embarrasses them. After her brother was arrested, the sister-in-law had nowhere else to go, so she moved in with her parents. I won't say that I'm overjoyed or content with anything, but I am relieved that the truth was revealed and that they eventually received justice. At least your family members have grown up and shown regret for not supporting you. Surely it's better late than never? But at this point, I'm sure their apologies are as helpful as a screen door on a submarine. However, you, OP, are smirking as you watch everything happen while lounging back like the sinister ruler of justice. Though, as they say, sometimes karma is the best kind of retribution, it may not be the pleasant ending you were hoping for. If you were the OP, how would you have responded? We appreciate you being here today and would love to hear your opinions in the comments section below.